So what is branding? Is it just a logo? Is it your website? Is it the story you're telling? As Marty Neumeier says in the book The Brand Gap, which is a book I talk about all the time, he says it's not what you say you are, it's what they say you are. He also says a brand is a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or organization. Keywords there, gut feeling. What does that mean? But really what it's all about, it's about perception. It's about how you're perceived in the marketplace. So if you're a new brand, you're a new company, you don't really have a brand. You don't have a brand until there's people that are aware that you exist, and there's people that are starting to have feelings about what you're putting out into the world. And you can see how if you don't have a very clear focus as a company, and you don't have a very clear voice, or if you have a voice that changes all the time, you can see how that can create a messy perception, or maybe not the perception that you're going for. A company that looks chaotic or sounds chaotic when they're trying to talk about themselves is not a company a lot of people are going to trust. So how do you control a brand? The 3 steps that I go through are find your focus. Example I give for that all the time is I do a lot of art markets because I screen print apparel. And I meet a lot of people and I have a lot of friends who make things with their hands. That's a focus. Being a handmade artisan, that's something that sets you apart among other people. I can buy jeans at Walmart, or I can buy jeans from a guy I know. That sets them apart. Obviously there's a price difference as well, but it depends what's important to that customer. Next is find your voice. So I use MailChimp a lot as an example for this because I think they have a really clear brand voice. They work in an industry that's boring. Like if you think about email newsletters, if you've looked at any of MailChimp's competition, it's very corporate, it's very business-like, it's very not exciting to deal with, and it's very technical. MailChimp cheers you on along the way, which is an unusual thing to find, I think, in the business world in general. And then the third step is keep it consistent. So in the corporate world, that might look like a brand book or a style guide, something where all of the rules for your brand are in a printed format or a digital format that you can distribute to anyone that needs it. For a solo operation, for a small company, that's everything from how consistent the imagery on your Instagram page is to how that compares to your website, all of your other social media pages, your business cards, keeping it consistent across whatever it is that you're putting out into the world. Why brand first? Branding is a guide. It gives you guidance along the way. Having these brand books, whether it's a fancy corporate one or a handwritten one, it becomes your path as a company. It shows you the way when you're marketing, it shows you the way when you are working with other people like graphic designers. Brand strategy becomes the outline for everything that you do. So all those things I talked about before, all your touch points, that strategy that you have documented and formalized, that becomes your guide for putting all these things out into the world. And the goal of branding overall is 1, to create that consistency, step 3 in our process, and that consistency becomes authenticity, and that authenticity becomes trust. That trust comes from knowing what your focus is, saying it in a consistent voice, and doing that forever.